The most impactful sign of Jesus' return has already happened, yet almost no one noticed. The world is changing before our very eyes. Wars, crises, and natural disasters are intensifying daily. But are we truly paying attention to what matters most? Many people are waiting for something grand and undeniable to believe that the end times are near. However, what if I told you that one of the most powerful signs of Jesus' return has already taken place? The real issue is that almost no one recognized it. This truth will completely change the way you see the times we are living in. The Bible is clear. God has given us signs to help us recognize how close His return is. But are we paying attention, or are we so caught up in the distractions of this world that we are missing the divine message? Imagine someone inheriting an immense fortune, yet continuing to live in poverty simply because they did not realize what they possessed. This is exactly what is happening to many Christians today. God has given a powerful warning, an urgent call, yet very few have eyes to see it. People chase after riches, money, luxury, and status, neglecting the greatest treasure of all, eternal salvation. What you are about to discover may be uncomfortable. It might even challenge everything you have ever heard, but if you stay until the end, you will realize that something much bigger is at stake than anything this world can offer. If you want to know the truth and be prepared for what is coming, subscribe to this channel now. This could be the most important message you hear today. The world is blind to what has already happened. Now I want to ask you something important. I know your time is valuable, but you are here because you seek to understand the truth. God's word has the power to transform lives, so comment below. I trust that God will give me victory to overcome all obstacles. Say it, because when you declare something, you strengthen your faith. I will personally heart every comment. Throughout history, God has always issued warnings before taking action. Before the flood in Noah's time, there was a warning. Before the plagues in Egypt, there was a warning. Before Jerusalem's destruction in 70 AD, Jesus warned the people. And what happened? The majority ignored the signs. Noah's generation mocked him. Pharaoh hardened his heart. The Jews refused to believe that their holy city could fall. Today is no different. Many are looking for extraordinary signs to confirm that Jesus' return is near. They expect supernatural global events to shake the world. But what if the greatest sign has already happened quietly and the world remains blind to it? God always acts with justice and mercy, but He also allows those who choose blindness to remain blind. When Jesus first came, He was the embodiment of God's love, yet very few recognized Him. People expected a glorious Messiah who would bring wealth and power, but instead they received a humble Savior. And now, before His second coming, the same pattern is unfolding once again. The modern world prides itself on knowledge and technological advancement, yet it is spiritually blind. People are obsessed with money, wealth, luxury, and the endless pursuit of status. They believe they can secure their future with material possessions, but they forget that true security comes only from God. The question few are asking is this: what is God trying to show us right now? What was the great sign that most ignored? Why do so many continue living as if nothing is happening while the prophetic clock keeps ticking? If humanity had spiritual eyes to see, they would recognize that something has already shifted. The time of grace will not last forever. Jesus Himself said that before His return, the world would be like it was in the days of Noah, people living their lives as if nothing were about to happen. They were marrying, trading, prospering, and seeking pleasures and luxuries until suddenly the flood came. So it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. The most critical question now is this: are you paying attention, or are you living like those who ignored the warnings in the past? The world continues its routine, consumed by distractions. Many are drowning in the pursuit of wealth and success, believing these things will bring them security, but they are ignoring God's call, the voice that warns of something far greater. It is time to wake up. The signs are all around us. Do not be like those who were warned, yet refused to listen. Seek God while there is still time. Open your heart, recognize the truth, and prepare for what is to come. If this message resonates with you, do not keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Together, let us spread the truth and ensure that no one misses the most important warning of our time. Signs are everywhere. The Bible speaks of a time when people will have a form of godliness but deny its true power. A time when love will grow cold. Can you see this happening around you? Relationships without commitment, empty promises, broken families, and corrupted values. Spiritual blindness is one of the enemy's most powerful weapons. While many are waiting for a massive sign in the sky, they are ignoring what has already happened right in front of them. But some are beginning to see. Some are waking up. God will always have a faithful remnant, a people who refuse to bow to the illusions of this world. What truly matters now is this: are you among those who see, or are you still blind? Are you willing to seek the truth, or will you keep waiting for a sign that may have already come? Time is moving faster than we realize, and for those who are paying attention, the truth is already clear. God is calling his people to wake up. The question is, what will you do with this call? The sign the enemy wants to hide. The greatest trick of the enemy is not to deny the truth, but to distort it, mask it, dilute it, and mix it with distractions until people can no longer recognize what is real. That is exactly what is happening right now. While the world chases after money, wealth, luxury, and temporary pleasures, something crucial has already taken place. Yet most people have been too occupied to notice. The Bible warns that in the last days, deception will be so great that, if possible, even the elect would be deceived. The devil isn't interested in obvious lies. He thrives on twisting the truth just enough to keep people blind. He doesn't need to convince you that God doesn't exist. He just needs to make you think that there's always more time, that the signs don't matter, that focusing on material security is more important than preparing for eternity. And so people live in a cycle, working endlessly to build a comfortable life, to acquire possessions, and to chase after wealth and success. There is nothing wrong with working hard or being responsible, but when these things take priority over the deeper truths of life, they become a trap. Jesus himself warned that it is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Why? Because riches create an illusion of control, self-sufficiency, and power. And while people are preoccupied with this pursuit, the greatest sign of all, the one that should have shaken the world, has already happened. History repeats itself. When Jesus came the first time, the religious leaders of his day should have recognized him. They had access to the scriptures, they had the prophecies, they knew the signs, but instead of embracing the truth, they ignored it. Why? Because their hearts were set on something else. They were waiting for a Messiah who would bring them political power, financial prosperity, and worldly dominance. They wanted a kingdom on earth, not an eternal one. And now, the same mistake is being made. People are waiting for something that fits their expectations. Some dramatic, undeniable event that will shake the entire world at once. But what if God has already given the sign? What if he has already sounded the alarm, but it didn't come in the form people were expecting? Think about this. When the flood came, it didn't start with a sudden downpour. It started with small raindrops, subtle at first. By the time people realized what was happening, it was too late. When Jerusalem fell in 70 AD, it didn't happen in a single moment. There were years of warnings, and those who were paying attention fled before the destruction came. The Bible tells us that before Jesus returns, the world will be consumed with self-indulgence. It will be obsessed with pleasure, comfort, and wealth. People will continue buying, selling, building, and expanding, convinced that life will go on as usual. They will ignore the warning signs, just like those in Noah's day, just like those in Sodom, just like those in Jerusalem. But for those who are awake, the truth is clear. Something has already shifted. The prophetic timeline is not waiting for some future moment to begin. It is already unfolding. The sign has already occurred. The enemy knows it. That is why he is working harder than ever to keep people distracted. And the question now is, what will you do? Are you paying attention, or have you been caught in the very deception the Bible warned about? The world isn't waiting for a sign. The sign has already come. The only question is, did you see it? The prophetic time is running out. Most people assume they have plenty of time. They convince themselves that Jesus' return is still far off, that there's no urgency to change, no reason to truly wake up. But what if time is running out much faster than we realize? What if the very signs we've been waiting for have already started unfolding, yet the world remains asleep? The Bible doesn't leave us in the dark. Jesus himself gave us a roadmap of what to expect. He said that when we see all these things, we should know that his return is near, even at the door. But how many are truly watching? Think about this. If you knew a devastating storm was approaching, would you continue lounging outside, ignoring the dark clouds forming above you? Of course not. You would prepare. You would take action. And yet, spiritually, many are ignoring the storm that is already on the horizon. God, in his mercy, always warns before he acts. He warned Noah before the flood. He warned Lot before the destruction of Sodom. He warned his disciples before the fall of Jerusalem. And now he has warned us. But here's the problem. People are waiting for a sign so big, so undeniable, that it forces them to believe. What they fail to realize is that the greatest deceptions are the ones that unfold gradually. The enemy doesn't announce his moves with fireworks. He operates through subtle distractions, through the constant bombardment of things that seem urgent but are, in reality, meaningless in light of eternity. Many people today are consumed with wealth, money, and luxury. They believe these things will give them security. They believe that if they just work harder, earn more, and secure their financial future, they'll be safe. But safe from what? Can riches stop the course of prophecy? Can money buy more time on God's divine clock? The answer is clear, absolutely not. The greatest trap of this generation is the illusion that life will continue as it always has. But history tells a different story. Kingdoms rise and fall, societies collapse. The strongest economies can crumble overnight. Yet people place their trust in things that have no eternal value. Jesus warned that in the last days, people would be eating, drinking, marrying, and giving in marriage, just as they were in Noah's time. In other words, they would be consumed with the temporary, living as if life would always continue the same way. And then suddenly, everything would change. But here's the question. What will it take for people to wake up? God doesn't want anyone to be caught off guard. That's why he has already given us the sign. The real question is, who is paying attention? Who is still spiritually awake? And that's where you come in. If this message is resonating with you, if you're beginning to see that the time is shorter than we think, then don't keep this to yourself. Hit the like button now and let others know that they need to hear this too. The more people who engage with this message, the more lives can be impacted, because the time is coming when the warnings will stop. And at that moment, only those who have been watching will truly be ready. The prophetic clock is moving forward. The question is, where do you stand? Prophecy is unfolding before our eyes. The world is not as it once was. Something is shifting. something deep, something unseen by those who are too distracted to notice. The signs of Jesus' return are not just distant prophecies for some future generation. They are happening right now, unfolding before our very eyes. But the question remains, who is truly paying attention? The Bible is filled with warnings about what the world will look like in the final days. It speaks of widespread deception, an increase in lawlessness, natural disasters, wars, economic instability, and a culture that grows colder and more rebellious against God. Every single one of these things is happening today at an unprecedented rate, yet the greatest deception is not the signs themselves, but the blindness of those who refuse to acknowledge them. People see corruption spreading, morality decaying, families breaking apart, and societies falling into chaos, but they dismiss it as just another phase in history. They convince themselves that things will eventually return to normal, that the world isn't really changing as dramatically as it seems. But here's the truth: normal isn't coming back. The world as we once knew it is gone. We are standing at the threshold of a new era, one foretold long ago. And for those who are spiritually awake, the urgency has never been clearer. The time for complacency is over. The time for ignoring the warnings is past. This is the moment to open your eyes, to recognize that God's word is being fulfilled, and to prepare your heart for what is to come. Because one thing is certain, the return of Jesus is not a distant event. It is closer than we think. And the question remains, are you paying attention? Just the way the world works, they fail to recognize that God already told us this would happen. The Bible isn't just an old book, it is a divine revelation, a map, a warning given out of love. There was a time when people had reverence for God, when society held on to certain moral foundations. But look around now. Wealth, money, and luxury have replaced faith in God. The pursuit of riches has become the highest goal. People measure their worth by what they own, rather than who they are in the eyes of their Creator. Yet Jesus himself said, "What good is it for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul?" People chase after prosperity, thinking that financial security will bring them peace. They believe that if they accumulate enough, they will be untouchable. But the Bible warns that in the last days, many will trust in their wealth, only to watch it vanish in an instant. When that day comes, will they realize, too late, that true riches were never found in money, but in their relationship with God? Another prophecy unfolding right now is the rise of false teachings. Doctrines that sound pleasant, that promise health, wealth, and an easy life, but deny the true call of the gospel. Jesus said that in the last days, many false prophets would appear and deceive many people. This is happening at an alarming rate. Instead of preaching the truth, many prefer to preach what is comfortable, what is profitable, what draws the biggest crowds. But the truth is not always easy to hear. What happens when people trade eternal truth for temporary pleasure? What happens when society values entertainment over holiness, luxury over sacrifice, and self-gratification over obedience? We are seeing the answer unfold before us. Families are crumbling, relationships are shallow, and people feel more lost and anxious than ever before. The world is full of noise, constant distractions, endless entertainment, and a flood of information that keeps people occupied, but never truly fulfilled. This is not an accident. This is a strategy. The enemy does not need to make people deny God outright. He only needs to keep them too busy, too comfortable, too entertained to seek him. And yet, for those who have eyes to see, the truth is clear. The signs are not coming. They are here. The warnings are not for some distant future. They are for today. The Bible is not just a historical record. It is a living testimony of what is happening now. But most people will miss it, not because the signs are hidden, but because their hearts are elsewhere. They are chasing after wealth, after status, after the fleeting promises of this world, instead of seeking the only one who can offer them true security. And so, prophecy continues to unfold. The world drifts further into chaos. The question remains, will people wake up before it's too late? Humanity's greatest gamble. Every person on this earth is making a choice, whether they realize it or not. Some are choosing God, placing their faith in Him, aligning their lives with His will. Others are choosing the world, chasing after wealth, power and luxury, believing that their status or possessions will bring them security. But here's the truth, there is no middle ground. Every decision, every priority, every pursuit is either drawing a person closer to God or pulling them further away. The most dangerous deception of all is the belief that there is still plenty of time, that the signs we see today are just temporary cycles of history, that nothing will change in their lifetime, that they can delay their decision for another day. This is humanity's greatest gamble, the assumption that tomorrow is guaranteed. But the Bible warns against this kind of thinking. Jesus himself said, "Therefore keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come." Yet despite this warning, most people continue living as if the future is entirely under their control. They make plans, chase after success, and invest in their financial future, all while neglecting the one thing that truly matters. Think about it. How many people spend years building their careers, saving money, acquiring property, securing their place in society? They devote their entire lives to ensuring their comfort, to achieving the standard of wealth they believe will make them happy. Yet what happens when everything they've worked for is gone in an instant? What happens when they realize that they spent their entire lives focused on temporary things while ignoring their eternal destiny? The Bible warns that the day of the Lord will come like a thief in the night. There will be no more time to prepare, no more warnings to heed. For those who ignored the signs, it will be too late. But for those who have been watching, who have kept their faith, who have not been swayed by the distractions of the world, there is hope. So where do you stand? Are you among those who are awake, who recognize the times we are living in? Or are you still caught up in the illusion that life will continue as it always has? The choice is yours. The signs are here, the warnings are clear, and the time to act is now. Seek the truth, open your heart to God, and be ready, because one day the waiting will be over, and only those who have prepared will be truly secure. Suddenly everything crumbles. What happens when carefully built plans are swept away by forces beyond control? History is filled with examples of how quickly things can change. Nations that once stood strong have collapsed overnight. Economies that seemed invincible have crumbled in a matter of days. The security that wealth promises is nothing more than an illusion. Money cannot stop disaster, luxury cannot prevent crisis, and power cannot delay prophecy. Yet people continue to build their lives on things that will not last. Jesus told the parable of a rich man who had an abundant harvest. Instead of recognizing his blessings as an opportunity to serve God, he decided to store everything for himself. He said, "I will tear down my barns and build bigger ones, and there I will store my surplus grain. And I'll say to myself, you have plenty of grain laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry." But God said to him, "You fool! This very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself?" This is the ultimate warning. No one knows how much time they have, yet many live as if they will have forever to seek God, to change, and to get serious about their faith. They think they can postpone repentance, that they can always turn to God later, after they have achieved their own goals, after they have secured their personal wealth and comfort. But there will come a moment when later no longer exists. There will be a time when the doors of grace will close, just as they did in Noah's day when the floodwaters came. The world is filled with distractions, entertainment, success, materialism, all designed to keep people focused on the temporary while ignoring the eternal. The enemy does not need to turn people into atheists to win. He only needs to keep them preoccupied. He convinces them that they have more time than they actually do. But the Bible makes it clear. Everything is moving toward a final moment, a point of no return. The question is not whether that moment will come, but whether people will be ready when it does. And so the gamble continues. Millions are betting their lives on the assumption that they can delay the most important decision they will ever make. They believe that wealth will protect them, that power will secure them, that luxury will satisfy them. But when the moment of truth arrives, none of these things will matter. The only thing that will remain is the choice they made. And for many, that choice will have been made too late. What God is calling you to do right now. Warnings are not given without a purpose. Every time God has sent a message to his people, it has been with the intention of leading them to action. He doesn't reveal truth just to inform. He reveals truth to transform. And now he is calling people to wake up, to step out of their spiritual slumber, and to prepare for what is coming. But here's the reality. Most won't listen. History has shown that people are slow to respond to God's warnings. They hesitate, they doubt, they push aside conviction in favor of comfort. In the days of Noah, the people had 120 years of warning, yet only 8 entered the ark. In the days of Lot, his own family hesitated when the angels warned them to flee Sodom. Even among those who hear the truth, there will always be those who choose to delay action until it is too late. And today, many are falling into the same trap. The world is full of noise, false teachings, empty promises, distractions, all designed to keep people from realizing the urgency of the times. Meanwhile, prophecy continues to unfold, and God's voice continues to call those who are willing to listen. Jesus said, "My sheep hear my voice. I know them, and they follow me." But are you truly listening? Are you paying attention to what God is trying to show you right now, or are you still waiting for a future moment to take your faith seriously? Some people believe that when the final events begin, they will have time to make a last-minute decision, but that is a dangerous assumption. The truth is, by the time the world fully realizes what is happening, it will already be too late. The decision will have already been made in their hearts long before the final crisis comes. That's why Jesus repeatedly warned his disciples to be ready, to stay alert, and to watch for the signs. There is no room for complacency. The time for seeking God is not tomorrow, it is now. The time for turning away from distractions and false securities is today. The question is not whether God is speaking, but whether you are listening. And if you are listening, the next question is, what will you do with what you now know? The call is urgent, the warnings are clear, and the choice is yours. Awake, to live each day as if he could return at any moment. The greatest deception of the enemy is not just to make people reject God outright, but to make them delay their commitment. He whispers, "You can do it tomorrow. You have time. Just focus on your success, your wealth, your dreams for now. You can always get serious about God later, but later never comes for those who keep postponing their decision." That is why God is calling people right now, today, to turn back to him, to let go of the temporary and pursue what is eternal. The wealth, the luxury, the money that so many chase will fade. The only thing that will remain is the relationship each person has with their Creator. This is not a message of fear. It is a message of hope, because God, in his mercy, is giving people the opportunity to open their eyes while there is still time. He is shaking the world, removing illusions, allowing people to see that everything they have built their security upon is fragile. And in doing so, he is offering something far greater, something unshakable, something eternal. But the time to respond is now. If this message has opened your eyes, don't keep it to yourself. Someone you know needs to hear this. Someone you love may be blind to what is happening. Share this now, because this truth could be the very thing that wakes them up before it's too late. The moment we've been waiting for is near. Everything is leading to one final moment, a moment that will change everything forever. The world as we know it will not continue indefinitely. The Bible makes it clear. There will come a time when every decision has been made, every opportunity has passed, and the destiny of each soul will be sealed. And that moment is approaching faster than most people realize. God's patience is immeasurable, but it is not limitless. Throughout history, he has given warnings before judgment. Noah's flood, Sodom's destruction, the fall of Jerusalem. In each case, there was a period of mercy, a chance for people to wake up. But when the time came, it came suddenly. Those who ignored the warnings found themselves unprepared, and there was no second chance. Jesus told us exactly how things would be before his return. He said that the world would be living as if nothing was about to change, eating, drinking, marrying, building, chasing after wealth and luxury. Life would seem normal, and then in an instant everything would shift. That moment will be irreversible. For those who have been waiting, who have been longing for Christ's return, it will be a day of unimaginable joy. But for those who ignored the warnings, it will be a day of fear and regret. The Bible describes how people will call out for the mountains to fall on them, begging to be hidden from the presence of the Lord. Not because God desires to bring terror, but because they will finally realize what they have lost. Right now, the world is walking on the edge of eternity. The final events will come, not because God is cruel, but because he is just. Every injustice, every suffering, every evil that has ever existed will be brought to account. And in that moment, all the power, all the riches, all the luxury that people spent their lives chasing will mean nothing. The only thing that will matter is whether they chose God or chose the world. This is the reality that few want to acknowledge. People live as if they will have endless chances, as if they can always turn to God later. But the Bible warns that there will come a day when later no longer exists, a day when the doors of mercy will close, just as they did when Noah entered the ark, a day when the choices people made in this life will determine their eternity. And that moment is closer than we think. There are no more warnings left to be given. The final call is being sounded now. The last opportunities are unfolding right in front of us. Those who are waiting for some dramatic moment to wake them up may find that they have waited too long. God is still calling. His voice is still speaking to those who are willing to hear. But the time to respond is not in the future, it is now. Because very soon, the wait will be over and the King will return. Everything you've heard today leads to one crucial question. What will you do with this truth? You now understand that one of the most powerful messages in history is unfolding before your very eyes. The choice is yours. Will you wake up and respond, or will you continue to delay until it's too late? Signs of Jesus' return have already happened. You see how the world is walking blindly into a reality that the Bible warned about long ago. You recognize that time is running out, but recognizing the truth is not enough. What matters now is how you respond to it. God is calling you, not tomorrow, not next year, not when life feels more convenient, but now. The enemy's greatest deception is making people believe they have more time, that they can focus on wealth, success, and comfort first, and deal with their faith later. But later is never guaranteed. The Bible says, "Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts." The world is obsessed with riches, luxury, and money, believing these things bring security. But on the day when Jesus returns, none of that will matter. The only thing that will matter is whether you have chosen Him. That choice is made right now, through the way you live each day, the priorities you set, and what you are willing to let go of in order to follow Him completely. So, what will it be? Will you continue waiting, hoping for another sign, assuming you still have time? Or will you take action now, surrendering your life fully to the one who gave everything for you? If this message has opened your eyes, don't let it stop here. Commit today to seeking God like never before. Turn away from the distractions of this world and start preparing your heart for what is coming. The final moments of this world as we know it are unfolding right before us. Those who are awake will see it. Those who are asleep will miss it. Now, I want to challenge you. Leave a comment below and declare where you stand. Let this be the moment you mark your decision. If this message has strengthened your faith, hit the like button now. The more engagement this video has, the more people it will reach. Most importantly, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss another message like this. But before you go, there's one more video you need to watch. It will take everything we've talked about today even deeper, showing you what's coming next and how you can be ready for it. Click on the video on the screen now, and I'll see you there.